At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to draw details on the screenshots of the orthographic views. You'll be able to split bodies, match edges, and delete T-spline faces and edit the gaps. Similar to the previous step, we can now use the actual orthographic views that come from our drawing to now draw the details that we ideated in perspective. This is good because it will be a lot more accurate than other resources that we could create. So with screenshots from the front, side, and rear view, you can add volume, add cuts, detail, and even probably material that has not yet been added to the vehicle. Once you're ready, insert the canvases and scale to fit the views. Remember to adjust the canvas opacity and ensure the display through is clicked. It is important to understand that this is the step that will take most of your time when modeling a vehicle. As you have observed, some of the videos have been accelerated. It is the case with this one as well. Also, some repetitive steps may have been edited out. The process shown in this video took around 4 hours of work. Let's begin with the front face of the car. Turn on that canvas and turn off the other ones, and then click on Finish Form to exit the sculpt environment. Using the lines drawn in SketchUp Pro as reference, create a sketch and use spline to draw the outer perimeter of the features of the front of your car. For example, the headlamps. Notice how the splines are crossing one over the other. Do not worry about this. You can use trim to get rid of the excess or just leave them as they are. Just make sure that the main gesture of the feature is captured with nice lines. Try to avoid unwanted bumps. One way to avoid them is to try and make the splines with the least amount of points possible. To ensure that your sketches are symmetrical, draw a straight line in the center of the vehicle by snapping it to the origin. Then right-click it and select Normal Construction. You will use this line to mirror your sketches. Do this with all the features from the front. After you are done, click Stop Sketch. Then click Create Form and select Create Extrude. Select the profiles and pull. If you, like in this case, don't get the symmetry results you wanted, you can always generate it by clicking Symmetry, Mirror, Duplicate. Actually, it may be better to do it this way since the modifications you do for one of the elements will be updated in the mirrored one. The next step is to uncrease the hard edges. To do this, select the edge, right-click and select Uncrease. Notice how you lost some definition and your forms may not look as similar to your canvas as originally expected. To regain definition, use Insert Edge next to the areas where the surface needs to turn more aggressively and adjust. Do this with all the features of your vehicle. Make sure your extrusions are completely intersecting the body of your car. When you finish, click Finish Form and then where it says Model. A menu will be displayed. Select the patch environment. It will allow you to work on the surfaces you generated. Click on Modify Split Body. Select the body to split and the splitting tool. Currently, Fusion only allows for one operation at a time in this release, but try selecting more than one tool in case further releases allow for chain selection. Notice how the surface generated from your T-spline has now been split. Delete or turn off the body where the grille will be. Create a sketch and select the plane where your side canvas is. Then, draw a line on the edge of the mouth of the vehicle in its center. To know if you're in the right spot, the sketch will snap to that point. Click Create Sweep. Select the line of your sketch as your profile and the edge of the surface as your path. As you can see, there are too many faces going into the void, but barely any to have enough resolution to follow the edge. Modify the amount of faces until you have enough to get a more faithful union. To ensure that the edges of both surfaces are as similar as possible, you can pull the surface and then click Modify Match. Then select the T-spline edge and the target edge. If you got any bumps you don't want, you can fix them. To generate the surfaces that divide the central grille from the air intakes, select the desired edges and use Edit Form while holding Alt to create new geometry and pull it down near the bottom edge. Insert edges to make sure the number of vertices matches on both sides. And then, weld them together. Make sure you're working with symmetry. If necessary, delete half of the body and use Symmetry Mirror Duplicate. You can use weld vertices to join. In this case, we see two overlapping edges. You can separate them using Edit Form before welding. Adjust the topology to match your canvas and add edges wherever necessary to gain more definition or harsher surface changes. When you're happy with the result, click Finish Form. Notice how there was an error when going back to the model environment. To fix this, use the box mode by pressing Alt F1 to make sure that there are no edges or faces crossing. Fix using this mode and then go back to smooth mode by pressing Alt F3. Now, let's click Finish Form again. Notice how the edges are not matching perfectly. You can use a timeline to double-click on the form you just worked with to continue editing. In this case, Match is used to ensure a tighter fit. Notice how a warning is displayed and some faces have turned red. This means that those faces are no longer working under symmetry and that if it is cleared, they will be deleted. In this case, that is acceptable. When you are happy with the result, click Finish Form. To continue shaping the form closer to your canvas, you can use the same steps explained before. Create a sketch, extrude in the sculpt environment, and split or trim in the patch environment. If you spot a view where the cut is not pleasing, you can use the timeline to go back and edit your surface. To fill the grille and air intake spaces, select the edge and use Edit Form while holding Alt, and then scale down until you leave a small gap. Crease the edge to preserve the shape, and then use Modify Fill Hole. If you get a warning when you click Finish Form, you can try the Reduce Star, Fill Star, or Collapse options to see which yields the best result. After you finish the form, use the methods explained before to cut the windows. Make sure you increase the hard edges and add resolution when needed. If you leave the hard edges, you might run into errors. Now, let's enrich the volume of the side of the vehicle. Use the timeline to go back to the main body of the car. Before you do any changes, add a few edges on the wheel arches so that your modifications do not affect them. After that, insert edges to gain resolution to have nice and defined forms and use Edit Form to pull and adjust faces, edges, and points. To work on the rear of the car, you will need to add geometry wherever necessary. Delete some faces to create holes and use Edit Form with Alt to generate new geometry and add detail. Insert edges wherever necessary to generate sharper surface changes. Use the previously explained methods to enrich your design. Let's add the interior of the headlamps. To do this, turn off some bodies in the browser so you can see what you're doing. Turn on the sketch that you used to cut the headlamps and extrude it. Move the extruded bodies behind the lamp and use Modify Match to make the edges touch. If you don't have enough resolution for a clean fit, use Modify Subdivide and repeat the match. Do this as many times as necessary until you are happy with the result. If this does not give you the results you want, add and delete edges to make the surface turn more faithfully to the edge you want to replicate. Then, use Edit Form while holding Alt to create new geometry and scale until you have a small gap. Use Fill Hole to complete the geometry. To add details, you can use planes to generate an interior structure. Once you have it where you like it, use Modify Thicken so it has some volume. After that, you can use Create Cylinder and then use Edit Form to generate a housing for light bulbs. then a sphere to complete the lamp. Once you have one of these forms, you can copy and paste them and scale them and place them wherever you see fit. You can do the same with the rear lights if you wish. In this case, only some basic divisions are added. Go back to the layer with the main body to add more detail in the rear. Use Edit Form while holding Alt to create new geometry and use Fill Hole to close the gaps. To generate the wheel well, use the sketch you originally used to generate the reference wheels. Then use Edit Form to make it coincide with the wheel arch. Delete the faces you need and move edges, points, and faces to get the best fit. Then, clear symmetry and delete the center of the T-spline body so that each wheel well is separated. Then, use Split or Trim to delete the portions of the cylinders that stick out of the car. Finally, generate a shape to serve as the wall of the wheel well. After you finish developing the body of your vehicle with all the details, it's time to work on the wheels.